Well, it's the moment of truth.
This lady better hold together once we're up in the air.
Law, don't say that. You're going to jinx us.
Speaking of which, Alphen, this bucket of bolts got a name?
A name? You know, I'm not sure she ever had one. I never really thought about it.
Well, after all the trouble we went through to find her, we should give her one, right? I was thinking something like...
Fall Knights.
Huh?
It means owl in the ancient tongue. Literally, the one drawn to the skies.
I like it. Sounds perfect for our little escapade.
Not sure I'm completely convinced, but... well, it's as good a name as any. From now on, she'll be known as the Fall Knights.
Okay, people. We have two goals. First, we need to get to Lenegis and make the Renans finally leave Dana alone. And then, we need to figure out the truth behind Shion's thorns and find a way to save her. Sound good? All right, then let's go.
I love how all the green and plants that were on it are now just suddenly gone. It's not like they would still be on there while taking off and then it blows off when you start flying. No, they're just gone now. Just cleaned it up. After all, we want to make a good first impression when we land there, right? Oh my. Ah, it's hella cool looking.
You know, I can still hardly believe it.
Believe what?
I mean, just look at it. The whole of existence, crammed inside a tiny frame.
Now that you mention it, I guess you're right. It does look more like a painting than a living, breathing world.
From up here, all the struggles we've been through feel so insignificant.
Nothing like realizing how small you are to put everything into perspective. Kinda makes the differences between the Renans and the Danans feel pretty small too, huh?
How much longer until we reach Lenegis?
There are better ways to use your time than napping. We should take a moment to familiarize ourselves with the facilities on board before arrival.
Good idea. The starship may end up serving as our base of operations once we're down there. Think you'll be all right with the controls?
You mean the one set to automatic pilot? I dare say I'll manage. I'm basically just here to supervise.
In that case, she's all yours.
I wish my car had an autopilot.
Everything okay, Shion? You
That would
seem
be
a little
cool.
different.
How cool this is, though.
Like in a bad way different?
No, not at all. You seem more driven
I think
lately.
it'd be cool
You
to
found
go
a
to
zest for
space.
life. It suits you.
That'd be hella cool. Do you know my neighbor freaking next door was queued up to go to space at one point? He never did, but there was a point where it was seeming like he was gonna go to space, which is very interesting. What would going on here?
Is something wrong?
No. I was merely thinking how it had been 7 years, that's all.
You mean since you became a lord and left Lenegis? I guess even someone like you can get homesick, huh?
I am as prone to sentimentality as any other. Tell me though, you too have a history with Lenegis. A traumatic one, no less. This trip will probably mean facing up to some difficult emotions. Doesn't that frighten you?
Well, it is a place where I took the lives of countless people. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about it. But I can't keep running forever. The past is what it is. There's no changing that. But the future's what we make it.
I see.
Dohalim?
Forgive me. I was wrong to pry. We have more pressing matters to address. Come back and speak to me when you finish looking around the ship.
Okay, will do. Yeah, the music is definitely a little bit loud, but oh well, at least it's fine to hear them here. It might not be fine to hear me, but we won't be here super long, I guess.
You, huh? What was life on Lenegis like back then? You know, before you came to Dana.
Let's just say I don't have many happy memories. I've had thorns my whole life. for as long as I can remember. They called it treatment. But in truth, they were just using me as a guinea pig for their research.
You mean they experimented on you?
That's right. All I was to them was a riddle to solve. They poked and prodded me, trying to figure out what triggered my thorns or changed the form they took. Day in and day out, every single day, one test after another. I'm still surprised they didn't try to dissect me. The look they gave me whenever one of them touched my skin. How could I forget it? Reeling from the pain, like I was a monster or something. Some existence, huh? A blight on any I touched. Helplessly complicit in their pain. I thought things couldn't get any worse. But then they did. I started to have nightmares, visions of the coming apocalypse. Is it any wonder I lacked a cheery disposition? Unable to so much as touch another soul. Loneliness was my best friend. Sure, I survived, but with the knowledge that one day I'd be swallowed up by oblivion. And that's when it hit me. If I was going to die, then it should mean something. If I have to sacrifice myself to save the world, so be it.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you relive that.
No, it's fine. I'm in a much better place now.
You say it's your destiny to die so that others can live. But why not the other way around? Why shouldn't we be the ones dying to save you?
Are you crazy? Why would you sacrifice your life for...
That's exactly my point. Why should you have to give up your life just because you drew the short straw in the destiny stakes? How is that even right? It's that logic that's used to justify slavery, as if some of us were just meant to be sacrificed. This struggle was never about saving only ourselves. But that doesn't mean we have to give up our own lives to save everyone else's either. If we're doing this to protect people, if we're doing this to save the world from destruction, then that has to include saving each other as well.
A world free of sacrifice. That's what you've been fighting for all along, isn't it?
Not just me. We're in this together, remember? This fight is yours too, Xion. If we're going to win, everyone has to win. There can be no room for losers in this fight. Now I see it. The true nature of our struggle.
A victory without losers. But that means that a Danon victory over Rena can't be the end. Do you think we can pull it off?
You bet we can pull it off. We have to. It's the only hope we have of things ever changing.
Yeah, you're right. No one's ever changed the future without aiming for the stars. We can do this. Together.
A victory without losers. If only that's something that more people strive for historically. If only. It's a cool looking place though, honestly. Wait, how do I get up here? Why does this remind me almost of like the freaking mission briefing space from Xenoblade Chronicles X? You go up the stairs and then you... whatever.
Hey, Alphen, listen to this! So Law and I were just talking and...
Hey, shut up!
What's got Law all flustered?
Only that he's afraid of flying, the big baby. And after all that fuss he made about naming the ship, too.
Hey, I never said I was scared. I just think it's, you know, a little unsettling how we're going to be cruising through space in a glorified tin can. That's all.
It's a starship, dummy. That's what it's supposed to do. I don't think there's anything strange about it.
Well, maybe you're the one with the problem then.
Guys. I'm no expert, but I think we can trust Renan technology. It got me to Dana in one piece, remember?
Oh, that's a good point. If you think so, Alphen, it must be okay. Don't you agree, Law?
Hard to argue with that, seeing how you hitched a ride in one of these things before, Alphen. It's just wrong, okay?
Is Law gonna get space sick? Well, not space sick, but more like spaceship scared. Yeah, it'd be hella cool to have a starship. That'd be really neato. Have a spaceship that can just zoom to space here and there, just like that, like this is able to, and like countless ships are in science fiction. Unlike the primitive ships we have in real life, that's like, okay, Well, time to load a whole bunch of fuel, time to load a whole bunch of stuff that's just gonna be ejected out back to the Earth, just to get this one tiny little bit of what we sent up out there. If only. Our technology that we have is rather primitive compared to anything we see in science fiction, isn't it? Who knows, maybe we'll be able to do something like this one day, but right now we have to do a massive pain in the butt method to get things into space is the thing. At least it's possible, which is really cool.
You okay?
But it's
Feeling airsick?
takes a lot of work.
Actually, now that you mention it, not at all. These starships
If only we
are
had
a
something pretty
remarkably
effortless
smooth
like this
ride,
that just
all things
goes to
considered.
space just like that, you know?
Nothing like being at sea, thank goodness.
Glad to hear it. That device there caught your eye, huh?
I was just wondering what it is. It looks big enough to fit a person inside of it.
It's a healing pod. It
The
fixes injuries and
cryopod
illnesses.
that, whatever
you
the
don't
name of the
say.
main character from Fallout
That
4
should
was
definitely
stuck in
come
at the
handy
beginning of the
if any
game.
us get injured while we're down there.
That's a game I'll play on this channel one day, along
Alpha,
with New Vegas.
was it something I
Maybe
said?
3. Or
No,
play before.
I was just thinking back to when I escaped Lennigus, that's all. What with the ceremony and losing control, I was a total mess. Naori laid me inside here.
So, you're saying you got in this thing straight after escaping? But that mean you were inside for 300 years?
Yes, it sounds crazy, I know. But don't even ask me why I stayed asleep all that time.
That's definitely quite some lie-in, all right. But still, whether you meant to or not, I sure am glad that it's this century that you finally woke up in.
What do you mean?
With the amount of fighting we've done, we would have never made it this far without you. And not only that, but... Alphen, can you recall back to what it is that I said to you? Back when we left Menancia? About the dream of coexistence, and needing to learn what it entailed?
Of course. That's why you came with us, right? To learn what you couldn't at home.
Even in that time, I was well aware that what I was living was a lie. But at the same time, I also felt really compelled to fulfill my brother's wishes. I'll always remember him fondly. But the coexistence we're fighting for isn't for him. It's for people now, and those still to come. The world's bigger than just Menancia. My dream is for all Danans, wherever they might be, to be free. If I've learned anything on this journey, it's that. And the one who brought me along was you, Alphen. I'll forever be grateful to you.
Well, we're not out of this forest just yet. You should probably save your thanks. At least, until we've dealt with the Red Woman.
I know. But whatever we find when we get down there, I'm through looking the other way.
Kisara.
Probably getting a little ahead of myself, huh? Let's take things one step at a time.
One step at a time, huh? But yeah, our own technology is really cool. But, like we've made it to the moon and back. Wait, was there a planet discovered made completely out of diamonds? That sounds hella cool. I want to look that up now. That actually sounds really neato. But yeah, when it comes to like our own space exploration, it's like we've gone to the moon and back with people. But that, in and of itself, is already like a freaking week-long trip or something like that. And it's definitely not exactly easy to do. And Mars is like, we can do it at this point. But, you know, it's just so far away that, like, could we put somebody on Mars and bring them back to Earth? Probably, but it'd be, like, such a pain. And what would be the point of that when we can have, like, probes do that for, like, way cheaper? Like, just for like, the historic moment of getting somebody on there and getting back. I guess it'd probably be possible, but it'd be such a pain, though. And there are easier ways to analyze the rocks there. We have plenty of drones there already doing it. But it sounds like the first Mars ships might be sent out like in the soonish in the future in the grand scheme of things. But when they do, the people that are going to Mars are staying there and like establishing, you know, a home there essentially, and making making a Mars base, essentially. So, like, could we get somebody on Mars and back home again? Probably, but it'd be, like, really, really, really tricky and a massive pain in the ass, to the point that, like, you know, why do that? Just for the bragging rights if we did it once? You could bring back some rocks to analyze, but is it really that worth it just to analyze some stuff here on Earth that drones can already analyze over there anyway? I don't know if there have been any drones that have actually brought back Mars rocks to Earth yet. It's something I have to Google. I know that there are drones already analyzing them on Mars, though. But apparently, at some point in the near-ish future, we'll have, like, the first Mars colonies sent out. And those are people who are staying there, where, you know, people who are signing up for that are just like, yeah, I'd like to live on another planet. I don't really have, like, anything that's keeping me here, and people who are signing up for that aren't coming back home. So, you know, getting to and establishing stuff on Mars is, freaking way more difficult than the moon, which is right next to us, and even right next to us means still very far away, but still. But yeah, like establishing a base and like colonizing it and getting like a, you know, stuff set up there and stuff like that. It said Mars used to be like Earth millions of years ago, so quite literally make Mars just like Earth someday in the far future from now. Maybe. Honestly, I've heard reports that it might actually be easier to terraform Venus than it would be to terraform Mars, which sounds very strange considering, you know, when you picture Venus, you imagine it to be like a place where it's like during the day it's so insanely hot and nothing can live there. It's freaking scorching during the day, and then during the night it's like, oh my goodness, everything is completely so insanely cold. Can't do much there. But you won't be able to quote me on like specifics of it, but it's stuff that you can look up online. There's actually some very interesting potential that we might have for terraforming Venus. It wouldn't be any time in the near future, but something in the grand scheme of things that we might see is potentially terraforming Venus. Well, it's not right next to the sun. It's very close and gets super scorching hot, but that's more so due to its like lack of atmosphere than or lack of ozone or whatever the heck it is, rather than its proximity. Like Mercury would be like, okay, that's not happening, that's way too close to the sun. But Venus is like, okay, it's kind of sketchily close, but it has some potential here and such. But yeah, there is some interesting stuff with Mars, but it is interesting to think that it might actually, again, you can't quote me on this, just stuff to like look up online and stuff like that, but I've heard tell that it might actually be more promising to terraform Venus than Mars, which is very intriguing. Very, very intriguing. But Mars might actually have like a lot of things like water on it already that's just like frozen over, and once we get some people on there and some other probes and stuff, maybe we could dig down enough to find like frozen water reserves and see if there's any super basic life over there. That'd be hella cool. I think that we might be doing some stuff like that for one of Jupiter's moons, I believe. I forget which one it was, but the one of Jupiter's moons that's made up of I mean, Jupiter has like 80 or 90 something moons, but of the big significant ones, whichever one of them is like the super frozen one, I think that we've been wanting to, I don't know if we have already, like go check it out, see if there's like any super basic life in the water or something like that, because that'd be hella cool. That'd be really neato. Prove that there's other life in the solar system than just us, even if it's like super basic, really basic cellular stuff, because that's all that it really could be. Like, unless there is like a super secret hidden civilization in these planets, but I doubt it. Realistically, if there is other life in the solar system, it'd probably be like really basic cellular stuff on one of the areas that there's water. Either in like the frozen water of Mars, or the frozen water of whatever the hell that one Jupiter moon is and stuff. But yeah, so it's interesting, the whole situation with all of that, honestly. Like, I've been taking an astronomy class recently, and it's quite interesting stuff, to say the least. It's definitely quite interesting, and it's very interesting how, you know, pretty soon we might well be seeing the first people on Mars. Like, we can technically do it. We can send somebody there, like, right now if we really wanted to, but if we don't go into it prepared, they just, like, you know, die over there and not last very long. So we need to take time to, like, you know, get a full team together who's willing to go get them, like, all the equipment they need to actually last there. But if, in theory, technically, if in theory we just wanted to send somebody to Mars who just like waits around there until their air runs out, technically we could do it, but like, why would we do that? Could probably do the same for things like Venus. We could even send somebody to Jupiter if we wanted. They'd just die as well. They'd get like compacted by the pressure. Like, one of the things we were reading up on this astronomy class is like there was a probe that we sent into Jupiter that was just sending a whole bunch of really good data back to Earth until the pressure got so high that it got like compacted and destroyed, which is what we expected to happen anyway, but it sent a whole bunch of good data about like the composition and density and stuff like that than Jupiter before it got destroyed. So like, even if in theory we wanted to send somebody on a super long trip to Jupiter, we could do that. But their entire ship would be compacted and they'd die. But we could do it technically. So there's that. I'm sure we'll see a Mars landing in our generation. Like, I'm certain of that. Like, I'm sure that'll definitely be a thing in our generation. Like, there were things were getting pretty worked out for a good while before COVID started and started halting a lot of the world's progress in general. I'm sure after COVID is over, they're gonna probably start like putting things into like larger swing again towards doing that. Like, they've already got like signups and stuff like that, I'm fairly certain, where people are just like, yeah, screw living life on Earth, I want to go to Mars, sign me up. I'm pretty sure that's been a thing that you can do for a while.
We'll soon be making preparations to land.
Before we do that,
not the kind of thing I'd want to do, though.
What should we expect when we get down there?
Kisara has a point. Now that I think of it, I don't know the first thing about Lenegis.
I'd like to hear more too. It's been centuries since I was last there. They didn't exactly give me the grand tour.
And the trip to Mars is also like a long
First
trip
and foremost,
as well.
Lenegis was the base of operations in charge of the crown contest on Dana. Of course, it also happens to be a city in its own right, complete with its own independent society. Its social structure is based on a strict hierarchy. Put simply, the strength of an individual's astral arts carries great weight.
Enough to determine someone's social rank, you mean? But astral arts are innate, right? So people's positions are fixed at birth.
They can be honed with the right training, and there are admittedly other factors at play. But yes, that's basically the gist. As a result, family lines that churn out lords and their contenders wield disproportionate influence, and those lineages are treated as nobility.
Those capable of only weak astral arts are effectively an underclass, denied the right to descend to Dana even if they wanted to. Still, even the lowest rung on the Renin ladder is considered superior to being a Danan. Keep that in mind down there.
Thanks for the warning. As a lord, Dohalim must have been pretty high up in the pecking order, right? What about you, Shion?
Come on, you've seen her skill with astral arts. You really need to ask?
Fair point.
On arts alone, you're right. I'd have been sitting pretty. But you're forgetting my thorns. They weren't exactly an invitation to high society.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's refreshing to be around someone who says what they're thinking. Life's less complicated that way.
Jeez, give backhanded compliments much?
Wait a second. Are you? He is! Lost blushing!
I am not!
Of course, separating people into castes based on something arbitrary like arts is discrimination at its worst. As if such simplistic criteria could ever be a measure of someone's worth.
So this red woman, are we expecting to find her on Lenegis?
I would wager so. Lenegis is too deeply involved in all this to discard the possibility. Chances are she's also connected to the Renis Alma being stolen from us in Pelegion.
If the Renis Alma is being used to exploit Dana, we need to take it back at all costs.
That red woman's got a lot to answer for. Just as well I've got a ton of questions.
We're about to land. The descent could be a little bumpy, so brace yourselves.
If there are clues about your thorns out there, Shion, we'll find them.